In high school, I remember Raquel as just being so mature, so helpful, so friendly. I feel like Raquel has always wanted to help. And, that's the beauty of Raquel at that age. I think she knew that if she wanted to help people, she had to get informed. Her goalpost keeps moving up, but her goal to move up is always, how can I help people even more? How can my help really be significant? I feel like Raquel has never forgotten her roots. She's never forgotten me. She never leaves anybody behind. That's her beauty. That's her heart. I just can't stress that enough.
She was an undergraduate at Arizona State University, and she struck me as much older than the 19-year-old that I was meeting. She and her family came to this country. She was 10 years old. She became bicultural at a very young age, at a time when there wasn't support in the schools. That didn't stop her. She thrived. She has always cared about people who have less access than she does, who have less money than she does. She touches people's lives on a legal level and also a human level. The gift of Raquel to me is beyond measure, The only thing that I can think to say right now is thank you for being Raquelita.
I met Raquel as the president of the Latino Law Student Association at McGeorge. It was obvious that she wanted me to succeed in this field, having met me for only 5 minutes. Raquel's work in building diversity is so important to the legal community because there are still very few people of color who are lawyers. I think Raquel is too humble to say that she is leaving a legacy behind, but I think that Raquel has left a little bit of her legacy with me, and I hope I can leave little segments of Raquel's legacy with the students that I mentor.
I think anyone that interacts with Raquel should be immediately struck by how intelligent she is, but it goes beyond that. She has such emotional intelligence. I have encountered other individuals in the field who sort of expect your journey to mimic theirs. And Raquel meets you at where you are. And she says, what are your unique circumstances? What is important to you? And how can I help you get there? Any systemic change she's trying to make is to help equalize that playing field, particularly for women and particularly for women of color and people of color. If I could say anything to Raquel, I would say, you will never fully understand the depths to which you have impacted my life, inspired me, brought me immense amount of joy. And if I tried my hardest every day, I could never be as good as you are, but I'll always keep trying.
Like Margaret Brent, I stand before you as an immigrant to this great nation. I dedicate this award to the heroic women lawyers who fight mightily for the rights of immigrants in the United States. I also dedicate it to the women lawyers in the sending nations who fight courageously to ensure that migration is a choice and not a journey compelled by indifference and the abandonment of human rights. I love that one of my sheroes, Holly Cooper, nominated me for this award. Holly is one of the fierce defenders of the most vulnerable immigrants in the US, those who linger in detention. She was one of the lawyers in the litigation that resulted in the Flores settlement, which, as you know, has become one of the most powerful tools today to protect the rights of migrant children in US custody. Jenny Lisette Flores was an unaccompanied minor who was 15 years old when she came from El Salvador in 1985 and attempted to cross the US-Mexico border without authorization. Flores, like thousands of other children, was caught and detained. Her story makes me think about my own migration journey, which is both similar but also vastly different from hers. Like Flores, I am also Salvadoran. My mother is Salvadoran and my father is Guatemalan. In 1980, my family fled El Salvador to Guatemala when El Salvador's civil war raged and my parents' community engagement made them too visible. But Guatemala was no better. When my brother was taken by force at age 12 to join the military, my mother resolved to leave with her 3 children to reach LA, where most of her siblings were already living. She planned to cross the US border without authorization. My father's cooler head prevailed when he, as a pastor of a US-based church in Central America, sought sponsorship to come to the US under a religious worker visa. And after hundreds of hours waiting in line at the Guatemalan US Embassy, my entire family boarded a plane to the US armed with green cards. A decade later, when I graduated from Arizona State University, an Arizona Republic story marveled at my quote-unquote exceptionalism. The spotlight then made me uncomfortable, even as it made so many around me proud. But more unsettling was that I did not recognize my own story, or at least not the way the Arizona Republic rewrote it. The author seemed enamored with the idea that I overcame challenges or so-called deficits. An immigrant, a Latina, not able to speak English until age 10, enrolled in inner-city schools, a first-generation college student, all by myself through innate intelligence and hard work. But the Arizona Republic ignored powerful factors in my story. Truth is, I was more blessed than I was wanting. Growing up, my family was brave and good and hardworking and visionary, and they gave me the amazing gift of love. Today, I want to acknowledge my amazing sister, Sylvia, her awesome husband, Rick, my gifted and gorgeous nieces, Renee and Raquel, and my adorable nephew, Ricky. In my adult life, I continue to be awesomely blessed with a phenomenal husband, Luis, and my incredible son, my 2 Luises. Without you, none of this would matter. I am conscious that my legal immigration journey, when borders were shut to most Central American, including Flores, has been significant to my success. As well, numerous mentors helped me discover my own potential. I want to acknowledge 2 of them today, briefly, Lara Collins. Over the years, Lara has inspired so many young people, but I think I've been the luckiest. She's become a lifelong friend and cheerleader, and I'm so grateful to you for each precious moment. Juanita Hernandez, who met me when I was in law school, I just want to say thank you for being a lifelong friend and mentor. As I gained consciousness in law school and in my practice as a human rights lawyer, I also began to recognize that a long-fought civil rights movement in the United States made it possible for me to access Harvard Law School. Because of this, I have always been drawn to the idea of law's power to be just and to create more equitable societies. I have always believed that borders should not dictate law's potential for good. For this reason, my work as a lawyer and academic has been spent engaging in a project of constructing more just nations in Central America, a project that for a host of historical and moral reasons is not solely the responsibility of Central Americans, it is also ours. Thankfully, in this journey, I am hardly alone. When I was in law school, I met my first and other Salvadoran lawyer I knew, Rina, who is here today. At one point was just like Flores, and now she dedicates her life as a lawyer and an ordained minister to empower vulnerable migrant workers, and now also as an LGBTQI migrant youth minister. And over the years, her persistent compassion has sustained me, particularly in these very dark times. My proudest contribution to this honorable profession has been to educate, inspire, and mentor young lawyers to take up the cause here in the US or in the sending nations as advocates for migrants who deserve the choice of dignified lives at home or here. For a decade, my spouse and I dreamed a project we called the Inter-American Program, and we took young lawyers from the US to Guatemala, hoping that through meaningful exchanges and experiences, they would fall in love with Guatemala in ways that would inform their advocacy. I believe in this we have been successful, and I want to acknowledge our biggest supporter in this path, Professor Julie Davis, who also joins us in this room. Thank you for loving Guatemala, its people, and for believing in its future. My final dedication is to my students, each of whom are brave and who fight daily for justice here and abroad. You make me so very proud. I want to close by just saying how overwhelmingly joyous it is to find myself recognized among a line of exceptional women lawyers who have been the recipients of the Margaret Brent Award. Thank you so much to the Commission on Women in the profession for selecting me. It's actually overwhelming standing up here, and I'm so deeply honored. Thank you so much.